Welcome to United Daily Updates, your most trusted source for Manchester United news. Hello everyone and welcome back to United Daily Updates, the best place on the internet for everything Manchester United. If you have not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that right now because we bring you the latest news, honest analysis, match breakdowns, and everything else you need to know about the Red Devils every single day. We work incredibly hard to be your most reliable and trusted source for all things Manchester United. We never spread fake news or clickbait headlines. We give you real information and genuine opinions that you can count on. Now let's get into today's story about a dramatic situation that is developing at Old Trafford. Introduction. Is RUBEN Amorim's job really in danger? Imagine waking up one morning and seeing headlines everywhere saying that your team's manager has been sacked. The shock. The disbelief. The immediate questions about what went wrong and who will come in next. For Manchester United fans, this scenario might not be as far-fetched as it sounds just a few weeks ago. We need to be very clear from the start about something important. There are rumours, speculation, and mounting pressure around RUBEN Amorim's position as Manchester United manager. But as of right now, there is no confirmed news that he has actually been sacked. However, the pressure is real. The concerns are growing. And the situation is serious enough that we need to talk about it in detail. What we do know for certain is that Manchester United drew 1-1 with West Ham United at Old Trafford on December 4, 2025. We know that United were winning 1-0 and looked comfortable. We know they threw away the lead late in the game after making defensive substitutions. We know this is part of a frustrating pattern of dropped points at home. And we know that Amorim admitted after the match that he was angry and frustrated with how things went. What we also know is that media reports are now suggesting Amorim's job could be under threat if poor results continue. The pressure is building. The scrutiny is intense. And the situation at Manchester United is reaching a critical point that could determine the future of the club for years to come. In this comprehensive blog post, we are going to break down everything about this developing situation. We will look at exactly what happened in the West Ham match and why it was so damaging. We will examine what Amorim said after the game and what it reveals about his state of mind. We will discuss the broader context of United's turbulent season. We will explore why Amorim's job might genuinely be at risk. And we will think about what this all means for Manchester United going forward. This is a story that is still developing. Things could change quickly. But right now, at this moment, RUBEN Amorim is under serious pressure and his future at Manchester United is genuinely uncertain. Let's dive deep into why this is happening and what it means. What actually happened against West Ham? Before we talk about job security and pressure, we need to understand exactly what happened in the match against West Ham that has created this crisis situation. Let's break down the game minute by minute to see where it all went wrong. Old Trafford on a cold December night. Picture the scene. Old Trafford on December 4, 2025. The floodlights are on. The stadium is filling up with fans who have come to watch their team play. It is a cold winter night in Manchester, the kind of evening where football feels most alive. The atmosphere should be electric. The expectation is that Manchester United will beat West Ham comfortably at home. West Ham are a struggling team fighting relegation. They have been poor all season. They are low on confidence. They are coming to Old Trafford where they historically have struggled. On paper, this should be a straightforward home victory for United. 3 points that keep them climbing the table towards the Champions League places. Nothing more, nothing less. The fans in the stadium believe this. The players believe this. Even the manager probably believes this going into the match. Everything points towards a United win. The only question is by how many goals. United take control. The match starts and Manchester United quickly establish dominance. They have more of the ball. They are creating chances. They are putting pressure on the West Ham defense. Everything is going according to plan. This is what you expect when a better team plays a weaker team at home. In the 58th minute, United get the goal they deserve. Diogo Dalot scores to make it 1-0. The stadium erupts. The players celebrate. Everything feels comfortable and in control. West Ham have offered nothing in attack. They look beaten. United look like they are cruising towards an easy 3 points. After the goal, United continue to dominate. They are keeping possession. They are not allowing West Ham any space in dangerous areas. The visitors look like a team that has accepted defeat and is just trying to keep the scoreline respectable. This is perfect. United are doing exactly what they need to do. At this point, probably around the 65-minute mark, Manchester United fans would have been feeling very relaxed. 1-0 up. Total control. West Ham offering nothing. The 3 points look guaranteed. Some fans might even be thinking about leaving early to beat the traffic. That is how comfortable and secure the victory looks. The substitutions that changed everything. But then Ruben Amorim makes a decision that will come to define this match and possibly his entire tenure at Manchester United. He decides to make substitutions that completely change the team's approach. Instead of continuing to attack and going for a second goal to kill the game off, he chooses to become defensive and try to protect the one-goal lead. The attacking players come off. Matheus Cunha and Joshua Zirkzee, who have been causing problems for West Ham all night, are taken off. Diogo Dalot, the goalscorer who is having a good game, is also substituted. These are players who are doing well. Players who are contributing to United's dominance. But Amorim decides to remove them. Who comes on in their place? Manuel Ugarte, a defensive midfielder. Mason Mount, who has not been in good form. And Patrick Dorgu, a young player. The message is clear. United are no longer trying to attack and score more goals. They are now trying to defend their one-goal lead and see out the remaining time. The fans in the stadium can feel the change immediately. The energy shifts. United stop pressing high. They stop creating chances. They drop deeper and deeper. West Ham, who had looked beaten and demoralized, suddenly start to believe they might get something from this game after all. The inevitable collapse. What happens next is something that football fans have seen countless times before. A team sits back to defend a one-goal lead. They invite pressure. The opposition grows in confidence. More and more of the match is played in the defending team's half. Set pieces pile up. Chances are created. And eventually, inevitably, a goal is conceded. In the 83rd minute, West Ham score from a corner. Sungutu Magasa gets his head to the ball and it ends up in the back of United's net. 1-1. The lead is gone. 2 points have been thrown away. The comfortable victory has turned into a frustrating draw. The reaction in Old Trafford is one of despair and anger. Fans cannot believe what they have just witnessed. Boos ring out around the stadium. The players look dejected and confused. Amorim looks frustrated on the touchline, but it is too late. The damage is done. United have dropped 2 points that they absolutely should have won. The final whistle blows shortly after. Manchester United 1, West Ham United 1. A draw. At home. Against a team fighting relegation. After being 1-0 up and in complete control. This is not acceptable. This is not good enough. And this is not what Manchester United fans expect or deserve. The aftermath at full time. As the players trudge off the pitch, the mood is grim. Fans are angry. Some are shouting at the players. Some are shouting at the manager. The frustration is palpable. This was not supposed to happen. United should have won this game easily. But once again, poor decisions and weak mentality have cost them valuable points. The media waiting to interview Amorim know that he is going to face difficult questions. How did you throw away a 1-0 lead at home? Why did you make those defensive substitutions? Do you understand why the fans are so angry? These are questions that need answers. And as Amorim heads to the press conference, he knows that this result has put his job under serious pressure. Dropping points at home to struggling teams is not acceptable at Manchester United. Do it once and you might be forgiven. But when it becomes a pattern, when it keeps happening again and again, people start asking whether you are the right person for the job. What Amorim said after the match. After any disappointing result, fans want to hear from the manager. They want to understand what went wrong. They want to see that the manager understands the problems and knows how to fix them. Let's look at what Ruben Amorim said in his post-match interviews and what it tells us about his state of mind. Admitting the game was there to win. In his interview with TNT Sports, Amorim said something that every Manchester United fan already knew. He admitted that the game was there to win. He said United had the match under control. This is an honest assessment. United were dominating. They were 1-0 up. They should have gone on to win comfortably. But Amorim also revealed something interesting about the mentality of his team. He said that after scoring the goal, United got anxious. Think about what this means. Instead of being confident and going for a second goal, the team became nervous and scared of losing what they had. This anxiety led to them sitting back and defending rather than continuing to attack. This is a damning admission from the manager. It tells us that there is a mental weakness in this United team. They do not have the confidence and belief to go for the kill. They do not have the mentality of winners who smell blood and go for more goals. Instead, they become anxious and defensive, which is exactly the wrong approach. A manager's job is partly about managing the psychology and mentality of his players. If your team is getting anxious after taking the lead, that is something you need to address. You need to instill confidence and bravery. You need to encourage them to keep attacking. But instead, Amorim's substitutions reinforced the anxiety by taking off attackers and bringing on defensive players. Frustration at losing 2 points. Amorim also spoke to Manchester United's official channels after the match. He expressed his frustration at losing 2 points. He said it was frustrating and that the details will make the difference. Again, this is honest and shows he understands the significance of what happened. Losing 2 points at home to West Ham is not a small thing. In the context of a season, these are points that could be the difference between finishing 4th and 5th, between qualifying for the Champions League and missing out. Every point matters when you are competing at the top level. The reference to details is interesting. What details is Amorim talking about? Perhaps he means the details of defending set pieces, since United conceded from a corner. Perhaps he means the details of game management and knowing when to make substitutions. Perhaps he means the small decisions that players make in crucial moments. Whatever he specifically meant, Amorim is right that details matter. But here is the problem. The biggest detail that cost United 2 points was not some tiny mistake in defending a corner. It was the manager's decision to make defensive substitutions and invite pressure. That is not a detail. That is a fundamental tactical choice that backfired badly. Left angry and frustrated. The reports tell us that Amorim was left angry and frustrated by the result. This is understandable. Any manager would be angry about dropping points in this manner. Any competitive person would be frustrated by failing to see out a game they had under control. But anger and frustration are not enough. What matters is learning from mistakes and making sure they do not happen again. Does Amorim understand that his own decisions contributed to this result? Will he change his approach going forward? Or will we see the same defensive mentality and the same mistakes repeated in future matches? These are the questions that Manchester United fans want answered. They do not just want to hear that the manager is frustrated. They want to see that he has a plan to fix the problems and that he will make different choices next time. What he did not say. Sometimes what a person does not say is as important as what they do say. Amorim admitted the game was there to win and expressed frustration at the result. But did he take responsibility for the substitutions that changed the game? Did he acknowledge that his tactical decisions invited pressure onto his team? Did he admit that he got it wrong? From what we can see in the reports, there is no clear acceptance of personal responsibility. This is concerning. Good leaders take responsibility when things go wrong. They do not just express frustration or talk about details. They say clearly that they made mistakes and they will do better next time. If Amorim does not recognize his own role in this draw, if he thinks it was just bad luck or players not executing properly, then the same mistakes will be repeated. You cannot fix problems that you do not acknowledge exist. The broader context of a turbulent season. The draw against West Ham did not happen in isolation. It is part of a much bigger picture of a turbulent and disappointing season for Manchester United. Let's look at the broader context to understand why pressure is building on RUBEN Amorim. Early season struggles and manager change. This season did not start with RUBEN Amorim in charge. Erik ten Hag was still the manager at the beginning of the campaign. But results were poor and performances were unconvincing. United were not playing well and were not getting the results that a club of their size demands. Eventually, Ineos, the company that now runs football operations at Manchester United, made the decision to sack ten Hag and bring in Amorim. This was a big decision. Changing managers mid-season is always disruptive. But Ineos felt it was necessary because things were not working under ten Hag. Amorim arrived with a good reputation. He had done excellent work at Sporting CP in Portugal. He had won titles playing attractive football. United fans were hopeful that he could bring some of that success to Old Trafford. There was optimism that finally United had found the right manager to turn things around. But the reality has not lived up to the expectations. Amorim warned fans that there would be a storm at Old Trafford, and he was right. Results have been inconsistent. Performances have been up and down. And United do not look like a team that has a clear identity or knows what it is trying to do. Humiliating cup exit. One of the lowest points of the season came when Manchester United were knocked out of the Carabao Cup by Grimsby Town. Let me repeat that because it is so shocking. Grimsby Town. A team from the lower divisions of English football. They beat Manchester United and knocked them out of a cup competition. This was absolutely humiliating. There is no other word for it. Manchester United are one of the biggest clubs in world football. They have won the European Cup multiple times. They have legendary players and managers in their history. And they lost to Grimsby Town in a domestic cup. That should never happen. Ever. The reaction to that defeat was brutal, as it should have been. Fans were furious. The media tore into United. Questions were immediately asked about whether Amorim was the right man for the job. If you cannot beat Grimsby Town, how can you expect to compete with Manchester City and Liverpool? How can you expect to challenge for major trophies? That defeat to Grimsby was a defining moment in Amorim's tenure so far. It was the first time that serious doubts emerged about whether he was up to the job. And while United have had some better results since then, the memory of that humiliation lingers. Financial problems and cost-cutting. While all this has been happening on the pitch, Manchester United have also been dealing with financial problems off the pitch. The club has been cutting costs in various ways. There have been staff layoffs. There have been reports about financial concerns. This has created an atmosphere of uncertainty and instability around the club. According to reports from The Guardian and other outlets, United have been making cuts to reduce their wage bill and operating costs. This is happening while the team struggles on the pitch and needs investment to improve. It creates a disconnect where fans see their team dropping points and failing to perform, while at the same time the club is cutting back rather than investing to make things better. These financial concerns also create pressure on the manager. If results do not improve, Ineos might feel they cannot afford to keep paying Amorim's salary if he is not delivering. The financial realities of modern football mean that managers are under constant pressure to produce results that justify their cost. Fan protests and discontent. The combination of poor results on the pitch and cost cutting off the pitch has led to fan protests and growing discontent among the Manchester United supporter base. Fans are frustrated. They are angry. They feel the club is not being run properly and that standards have dropped to an unacceptable level. There have been protests at Old Trafford. There have been vocal complaints on social media. Fan groups have been critical of how the club is being managed. This creates a toxic atmosphere where every poor result is magnified and every mistake is scrutinized. For Amorim, managing in this environment is incredibly difficult. He is trying to build something and implement his methods while dealing with an impatient fan base, financial constraints, and constant media scrutiny. That pressure would test any manager, even the most experienced ones. The pattern of dropping points at home. What makes the West Ham draw particularly damaging is that it fits into a pattern of Manchester United dropping points at home that they should not be dropping. United have lost to Everton at Old Trafford. They have now drawn with West Ham at home. These are results that simply are not good enough. Old Trafford is supposed to be a fortress. It is supposed to be a place where visiting teams are intimidated and where United win the vast majority of their matches. But under Amorim, home advantage does not seem to mean much. United are losing and drawing against teams they should be beating comfortably. This pattern is what creates the crisis. You can accept one bad result as a one-off. But when the same thing keeps happening again and again, people start questioning whether it is bad luck or a fundamental problem with how the team is being managed. Why Amorim's job might actually be at risk. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Is RUBEN Amorim's job genuinely at risk? Could he actually be sacked? Or is this just media speculation and overreaction? Let's look at the evidence and think about whether his position is really as precarious as some reports suggest. What the media are saying. Multiple credible football media outlets have reported that Amorim's job could be under threat if results do not improve. Goal.com and Sky Sports, both reputable sources, have published articles suggesting that the pressure is mounting and that continued poor results could lead to Amorim being sacked. This is not just one random website making up stories for clicks. These are established media organizations with sources inside football clubs. When they report that a manager's job is under pressure, there is usually some truth to it. They are hearing things from people close to the situation. The specific language used is important. The reports say that Amorim's job is under threat if poor results continue. This means he has not been sacked yet. But it also means that Ineos are watching closely, and if things do not improve quickly, they might make a change. The manager is on notice. His position is not secure. He needs to turn things around fast. The Ineos factor. Ineos are relatively new to running football operations at Manchester United. They took control fairly recently and they are still figuring out how they want to do things. But one thing we have already learned about Ineos is that they are willing to make tough decisions quickly. They sacked Erik ten Hag quite ruthlessly when they felt he was not delivering. They did not wait for the end of the season. They did not give him endless chances. When they decided it was not working, they acted decisively and made a change. This shows they are not sentimental or patient when it comes to managers. If Ineos feel that Amorim is not the right man for the job, there is no reason to think they will hesitate to make another change. They have already shown they are willing to sack a manager mid-season. They would do it again if they felt it was necessary. The question is whether they have reached that point with Amorim yet. Have they lost faith in him? Do they think someone else could do better? Or are they still willing to give him more time to turn things around? We do not know the answers to these questions, but the reports suggest Ineos are at least considering their options. The lack of clear improvement. One of the biggest problems for Amorim is that there has not been clear, consistent improvement since he took over. Yes, United have had some good results. They beat Liverpool away. They beat Crystal Palace away. These are impressive victories that show the team has quality. But then they lose at home to Everton. They draw at home to West Ham. They got knocked out of a cup by Grimsby Town. The inconsistency is maddening. You never know which version of United is going to show up on any given day. When a new manager comes in, clubs usually give them time because they expect to see gradual improvement. Maybe results are not perfect immediately, but you see progress. You see the team playing better. You see a clear identity emerging. You see signs that things are moving in the right direction. But with Amorim at United, it is hard to see that clear trajectory of improvement. Some games look good. Other games look terrible. The team has not developed a consistent style or identity. It still feels like United are figuring out what they are trying to be rather than executing a clear plan. This lack of clear improvement is what puts managers' jobs at risk. If INEOS cannot see progress, if they cannot see that Amorim is building towards something, they might decide to cut their losses and try someone else. The upcoming fixtures. Another factor in Amorim's job security is the upcoming fixtures. Manchester United play Wolverhampton Wanderers next, who are bottom of the Premier League table. This is the easiest game United could ask for. Wolves are struggling badly. They are the worst team in the league right now. United absolutely must beat them at home. If United somehow fail to beat Wolves, if they draw or even worse lose to the bottom team in the league at Old Trafford, it would be catastrophic. The pressure on Amorim would become unbearable. Ineos might feel they have no choice but to make a change because results like that are simply not acceptable. But even if United do beat Wolves, as they should, that just buys Amorim a bit more time. The fixtures after that will bring new challenges. If United then drop points in those matches, the pressure will be right back on the manager. Amorim is essentially on a game-by-game evaluation at this point. He needs to start winning consistently. He needs to show that United can beat the teams they should beat. He needs to stop making defensive decisions that cost his team points. If he cannot do these things quickly, his job will be in serious jeopardy. Historical precedent. It is worth remembering that Manchester United have a history of being quite ruthless with managers who are not delivering. Since Sir Alex Ferguson retired in 2013, United have gone through multiple managers. David Moyes was sacked after less than a season. Louis van Gaal was sacked despite winning the FA Cup. Jose Mourinho was sacked mid-season. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was sacked when results turned bad. Ralf Rangnick lasted 6 months. Erik ten Hag was recently sacked. This tells us that United do not give managers endless time and patience if things are not working. The club has become quite trigger-happy with managerial changes. They want success and they want it now. If a manager is not delivering quickly enough, he gets replaced. Ruben Amorim should not assume he will be treated any differently. If INEOS decide he is not the right fit, he will be gone just like all the managers before him. The job security that managers once enjoyed at big clubs does not really exist anymore. You are only as safe as your last few results. What a hypothetical sacking would look like. Let's imagine for a moment what it would look like if Ineos did decide to sack Ruben Amorim. We need to be clear that this has not happened. There is no confirmed news of a sacking. But given the pressure and speculation, it is worth thinking about how such a scenario would play out. The dramatic announcement. If United were to sack Amorim, it would create massive headlines around the world. Manchester United is one of the biggest clubs in football. Any managerial change at Old Trafford is major news that dominates the sports media for days. The announcement would probably come via an official club statement. Something brief and professional thanking Amorim for his efforts and wishing him well for the future. There would be no detailed explanation of why he was being let go. Just the standard corporate language that clubs use when parting ways with a manager. Social media would explode instantly. United fans would have strong and divided opinions. Some would be relieved, feeling that Amorim was not the right man and that change was needed. Others would be frustrated, arguing that he was not given enough time and that the problems at United go deeper than just the manager. The football media would immediately shift into speculation mode about who the next manager might be. Names would be thrown around. Odds would be published by bookmakers. Pundits would debate who would be the best choice. The circus that surrounds any big managerial change would be in full effect. The search for a replacement. If Amorim were sacked, Ineos would need to find a replacement quickly. You cannot leave a club like Manchester United without a permanent manager for long. Interim appointments work for a short time, but you need stability and a long-term plan. Who would United target? There are always the same big names that get mentioned. Would they go for an experienced manager with a proven track record? Would they take a chance on another young progressive coach? Would they try to bring back someone with United connections? The choice of replacement would tell us a lot about Ineos's thinking and what direction they want to take the club. A conservative, experienced choice would suggest they want stability and safety. A bold, younger choice would suggest they are still willing to take risks on potential. But here is the problem. United have already tried so many different types of managers since Ferguson left. They tried the experienced and proven choice with Van Gaal and Mourinho. They tried the club legend with Solskjaer. They tried the progressive younger manager with Ten Hag and now Amorim. Nothing has worked. This suggests that the problem at Manchester United might be bigger than just the manager. Maybe the structure of the club is wrong. Maybe the recruitment is poor. Maybe the player quality is not good enough. Changing the manager again might not fix these deeper problems. The reaction from fans. Manchester United fans would have mixed reactions to an Amorim sacking. The fan base is divided on most issues these days, and this would be no different. Let's think about the different perspectives fans might have. Some fans would support the decision. They would point to the dropped points against West Ham and Everton at home. They would mention the Grimsby Town humiliation. They would argue that Amorim has not shown enough to deserve more time and that cutting losses now is the right move. Other fans would be critical of the decision. They would argue that Amorim has only been in the job for a few months and that no manager can fix United's problems that quickly. They would point to the good results like winning at Liverpool and say that shows there is potential. They would criticize Ineos for being too impatient and not having a long-term plan. Still other fans would just be tired and frustrated with the whole situation. Another manager sacked. Another rebuild starting. More months or years of instability and inconsistency. When does it end? When does United finally get it right? This fatigue is real and understandable among United supporters who have been through this cycle multiple times now. The impact on the team. A managerial change mid-season always disrupts a team. Players who were in favor under the old manager might find themselves out of favor under the new one. Tactical systems change. Training methods change. Everything gets thrown up in the air and has to be figured out all over again. For Manchester United's players, an Amorim sacking would create more uncertainty at a time when they need stability. Some players might be relieved if they did not get along with Amorim or did not fit his system. Others might be disappointed because they were starting to understand what he wanted and were improving. The dressing room reaction would be key. If players respect Amorim and feel he was treated unfairly, it could create tension with the new manager and the club hierarchy. If players are happy to see him go, it suggests there were problems we did not know about. Either way, it would be a messy situation to navigate. The reality check. What we actually know. We have spent a lot of time discussing the possibility of Amorim being sacked and what that would look like. But now we need to step back and be very clear about what is actually true and what is speculation. What is confirmed? Here are the facts that we know for certain. Manchester United drew 1-1 with West Ham United at home on December 4, 2025. United were leading 1-0 and in control of the match. RUBEN Amorim made defensive substitutions. United conceded a late equalizer. 2 points were dropped. We know that Amorim spoke after the match and admitted the game was there to win. He expressed frustration at the result. He said the details will make the difference. These are his own words that were reported by credible sources like TNT Sports and Manchester United's official channels. We know that media outlets like Goal and Sky Sports have reported that Amorim's job could be under threat if poor results continue. These are credible organizations making these claims, not random Twitter accounts or unreliable websites. We know that United's season has been turbulent with a managerial change already happening, poor results in some matches including the Grimsby Town defeat, and financial issues with cost-cutting. All of this creates an atmosphere of pressure and uncertainty. What is speculation? Here is what we do not know for certain. We do not know if Ineos have actually discussed sacking Amorim. We do not know if there is a specific timeline where he needs to show improvement or face the sack. We do not know if they are already considering potential replacements. These things might be true, but we have no confirmed reports about them. We do not know for certain that Amorim will be sacked. As of right now, he is still the Manchester United manager. He has not been dismissed. The reports say his job is under threat, which means there is pressure, but it does not mean a sacking is imminent or inevitable. Any discussion of what would happen if Amorim is sacked is hypothetical. It is us imagining a scenario that might occur based on the pressure and speculation, but has not actually occurred. This is important to understand so that people do not read this and think Amorim has actually been fired when he has not. The difference between pressure and action. There is a big difference between being under pressure and actually losing your job. Lots of managers are under pressure at various points during a season. That does not mean they all get sacked. Sometimes they respond to the pressure by improving results and securing their position. RUBEN Amorim is definitely under pressure right now. That is clear from the media reports and from the reaction to the West Ham draw. But pressure does not automatically mean he will be sacked. He has time to turn things around. He has upcoming matches where he can get results and ease the pressure. The question is whether he can respond positively to this pressure. Can he learn from the mistakes against West Ham? Can he lead United to wins against Wolves and other teams they should beat? Can he show Ineos that he deserves more time and trust? If he can do these things, the pressure will ease and the speculation about his job will die down. But if he cannot respond, if United continue dropping points and producing inconsistent performances, then the pressure will only increase until eventually it becomes unbearable and action has to be taken. What this means for Manchester United going forward. Whether Amorim stays or goes, Manchester United face some serious questions about their future. Let's think about what this situation tells us about the state of the club and what needs to change. The managerial merry-go-round must stop. Manchester United have had too many managers in too short a time. Since Ferguson retired in 2013, they have had 7 permanent managers including Amorim. That is 7 different approaches, 7 different philosophies, 7 different sets of signings, 7 rebuilds. This constant change makes it impossible to build anything sustainable. At some point, United need to find a manager and stick with them for more than a season or 2. They need to show patience and allow a proper rebuild to take place. But how do you do that when results are poor and pressure is intense? This is the fundamental dilemma facing Ineos. If they sack Amorim after just a few months, they are contributing to the merry-go-round problem. But if they keep him despite poor results, they risk falling further behind their rivals. There are no easy answers here. But what is clear is that United need to find a better way of operating than just constantly cycling through managers. The deep problems at the club. The managerial instability is a symptom of deeper problems at Manchester United. The club has not been run well since Ferguson left. There have been poor decisions at every level. Bad signings. Inflated wages. Lack of clear strategy. Conflicts between different parts of the organization. All of this has contributed to United's decline. Ineos are trying to fix these problems, but it is a huge task. You cannot repair over a decade of mismanagement overnight. It will take years of smart decisions, good planning, and patience. But in a results-driven business like football, patience is hard to come by when you are not winning. The danger is that United get stuck in a cycle where they keep making surface-level changes like sacking managers without addressing the deeper structural problems. If that happens, it does not matter who the manager is. The same issues will keep occurring and United will keep failing to meet expectations. What success would actually look like? Manchester United fans need to recalibrate their expectations about what success looks like in the short and medium term. This team is not going to win the Premier League this season or next season. They are not going to win the Champions League anytime soon. Those goals are realistic for where United should be as a club, but not for where they actually are right now. A more realistic goal for this season is finishing in the top 4 and qualifying for the Champions League. That should be the absolute minimum for a club of United size, but even that is not guaranteed given how inconsistent they have been. Next season, with a settled manager and hopefully some good signings, United should be looking to close the gap on the top teams and maybe challenge for a trophy. But becoming genuine title contenders again will take longer than 1 or 2 seasons. Fans need to accept this reality even though it is frustrating. United are going through a rebuilding period. It will take time. There will be setbacks. But if the club makes smart decisions and shows patience, they can eventually get back to where they belong. The January transfer window. The January transfer window is coming up soon and it could be crucial for Manchester United.